Earth before the moon, a world you'll never recognize. Take a moment to look at the moon. For as long as humanity has existed, it has been there. Every civilization has watched it rise above the horizon. Every ocean has responded to its gravity. Every night it has reflected sunlight onto the dark side of our planet. It feels permanent. It feels as though the moon has always belonged to Earth. But that is not true. There was a time when our planet had no moon at all. If you could travel back more than 4.5 billion years, you would not recognize the Earth beneath your feet. There would be no blue oceans, no continents, no forests, no clouds drifting peacefully across the sky. Even the length of a day would feel completely unfamiliar. The young Earth was a violent world, one that looked far more like a glowing star than the planet we call home today. To understand that forgotten world, we have to go back to the very beginning of the solar system. Around 4.6 billion years ago, our solar system did not contain planets. Instead, there was a gigantic cloud of gas and dust floating through space. Most of this material consisted of hydrogen and helium, leftovers from earlier generations of stars that had exploded long before our sun was born. Gravity slowly pulled this enormous cloud inward. As it collapsed, it began spinning faster and faster, just as a figure skater spins faster when pulling in their arm. The center became hotter, pressure increased. Eventually, temperatures climbed so high that nuclear fusion ignited. A new star was born, our sun. Around the young sun, a wide disk of dust, rock, and gas continued to rotate. Within this disk, countless tiny grains collided. Some collisions caused the particles to stick together. Others shattered them apart over millions of years. However, gravity favored growth. Pebbles became rocks. Rocks became mountains in space. Those mountains became objects hundreds of kilometers across. Scientists call these early worlds planetesimals. They were the building blocks of every planet that exists today. The early solar system was not peaceful. It was chaotic beyond imagination. Millions of giant objects crossed each other's paths at enormous speeds. Collisions happened constantly. Some impacts completely destroyed growing worlds. Others merged them into larger bodies. Earth itself was assembled through thousands of these violent collisions. Every impact added more mass. Every collision released incredible amounts of energy. Eventually, enough material gathered together that gravity compressed the growing planet into a nearly spherical shape. But instead of becoming calm, the young Earth grew even hotter. 3 different heat sources transformed it into an inferno. The first came from collisions. Every asteroid striking the surface released energy comparable to countless nuclear explosions. The second came from gravity itself. As Earth's interior compressed under its own weight, enormous pressure generated additional heat. The third source came from radioactive elements trapped inside the planet. As unstable atoms decayed, they continuously released energy deep beneath the surface. Together, these processes melted nearly the entire young planet. Instead of solid ground, Earth possessed a global ocean of molten rock. Scientists often describe this stage as the magma ocean. Imagine standing above it. There would be no beaches, no mountains, no valleys, only glowing rivers of liquid stone stretching beyond every horizon. Temperatures exceeded 1,500 degrees Celsius across much of the surface. The sky looked nothing like today's atmosphere. There was almost no oxygen. Instead, volcanic gases filled the air. Carbon dioxide, water vapor, sulfur compounds, methane, ammonia. The atmosphere itself glowed from the intense heat below. The sun appeared dimmer than it does today because young stars produce less energy during their earliest stages. Yet despite the weaker sun, Earth remained unimaginably hot because nearly every part of the planet was still cooling from its violent birth. There was another major difference. A day on Earth was astonishingly short. Today, our planet completes one rotation in roughly 24 hours. Back then, one day may have lasted only 5 or 6 hours. The young Earth spun incredibly fast. The sun rose and set several times faster than we experience today. Without a moon, nothing significantly slowed Earth's rotation. The rapid spinning affected everything: the atmosphere, the future oceans, the shape of the planet itself. Earth was not perfectly round. Centrifugal forces, caused its equator to bulge outward more dramatically than today. Even gravity varied slightly from one region to another. Yet the greatest danger did not come from Earth's heat. It came from space. During the first hundreds of millions of years, the solar system resembled a giant cosmic shooting gallery. Large asteroids crossed Earth's orbit almost continuously. Many were dozens or even hundreds of kilometers wide. Some impacts released more energy than every nuclear weapon humanity has ever built combined. Each collision melted crust, created global oceans of lava, filled the atmosphere with vaporized rock. Sometimes Earth's surface began cooling, only for another massive impact to melt it all over again. Life could not have survived such conditions. Indeed, life had not yet begun. But somewhere among these countless collisions, one object stood apart from all the others. It was not merely another asteroid. It was nearly the size of a planet. Scientists have given this lost world a name, Theia. Theia probably formed near Earth's orbit. Like Earth, it grew from countless smaller objects within the young solar system. By the time both worlds matured, they occupied unstable paths around the sun. Eventually, gravity brought them together. The collision that followed would permanently change both worlds. For centuries, people assumed the Moon and Earth had formed together. Others believed Earth had somehow captured the Moon, long after both objects already existed. Neither explanation fit all the available evidence. The breakthrough came only in the 20th century. Apollo astronauts returned hundreds of kilograms of lunar rocks. Laboratories around the world analyzed every detail. The results were astonishing. Moon rocks were remarkably similar to Earth's outer layers. They shared nearly identical oxygen isotope ratios, something unexpectedly rare within the solar system. At the same time, the Moon contained relatively little iron compared to Earth. If the Moon had formed independently somewhere else, these similarities would be difficult to explain. If it had been captured later, its composition should have looked very different. Instead, scientists gradually developed what is now known as the giant impact hypothesis. According to this model, Theia struck the young Earth around 4.5 billion years ago. The collision was unlike anything our planet has experienced since. This was not a head-on crash. Current models suggest Theia struck at an angle. Even so, the energy involved remains almost impossible to comprehend. The impact released enough energy to vaporize enormous quantities of rock. Entire regions of Earth's mantle were blasted into space. Theia itself was almost completely destroyed. Rather than simply bouncing away or burying itself beneath Earth's surface, much of both worlds became a glowing cloud orbiting the damaged planet. Imagine billions upon billions of tons of molten rock circling Earth like a gigantic ring. At first, there was still no moon, only countless fragments. Some were the size of mountains, others were droplets of liquid rock, others were clouds of vapor. Gravity slowly began gathering these fragments together. Every orbit brought new collisions. Small bodies merged into larger ones. Large bodies merged into even larger worlds. Within perhaps only a few thousand years, an incredibly short period in planetary history, the debris assembled into a single companion. The Moon was born, but it did not resemble the Moon we know today. Its surface was also covered by a global magma ocean, freshly formed and still radiating heat from its violent birth. It glowed brightly above Earth. If anyone could have watched the ancient sky, the Moon would have appeared much larger than it does now, far larger. Today, the Moon averages about 384,000 kilometers away. Shortly after its formation, it may have orbited only around 20 to 30,000 kilometers from Earth. It would have dominated the sky. Its gravitational pull was dramatically stronger. The tides it created would eventually reshape the entire planet. Yet even then, the story was only beginning. Because the newborn Moon immediately began changing Earth itself in ways that continue to this very day. The newborn Moon did far more than become Earth's closest companion. It immediately became one of the most powerful forces shaping the future of our planet. Although the violent collision had ended, its consequences had only begun. In the millions of years that followed, Earth and the Moon entered a gravitational relationship, Unlike any other in the solar system, the moon orbited much closer than it does today. Instead of appearing about half a degree wide in the sky, as it does now, it may have appeared 10 to 15 times larger. Imagine looking upward and seeing a glowing world stretching across a huge portion of the heavens. It would not simply rise quietly above the horizon. It would dominate the night. Its gravity would dominate the oceans. Its presence would dominate the rhythm of the young Earth. At first, however, there were no oceans. The collision with Theia had reheated much of the planet. Large regions of Earth's surface once again became molten. The atmosphere contained enormous amounts of vaporized rock, carbon dioxide, water vapor, nitrogen, sulfur gases, and other volcanic compounds. The surface glowed red beneath a dense, opaque sky. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick atmosphere. There were no blue skies, no white clouds, no rain, no rivers, only a world slowly trying to cool. Cooling a planet is not a quick process. Space is extremely cold, but it is also almost empty, without air to carry heat away. Earth could lose energy only by radiating infrared light into space. Year after year, century after century, the surface gradually lost enough heat for solid rock to begin forming. The first crust was unlike the continents we know today. It was thin, unstable, constantly broken apart by volcanic activity. Fresh magma repeatedly burst through the surface, replacing older crust with newer layers. Even as solid ground appeared, another dramatic process was underway. Water. Today, Earth's oceans contain about 1.3 billion cubic kilometers of water. Where did it all come from? Scientists believe the answer involves more than one source. Some water was already locked inside the minerals that formed Earth as the interior heated. Volcanic eruptions released enormous quantities of water vapor into the atmosphere. Additional water may have arrived aboard water-rich asteroids that struck the young planet during its early history. Regardless of its origin, one thing is certain. At first, nearly all of Earth's water existed as steam. The atmosphere became incredibly thick. The pressure at the surface may have been hundreds of times greater than today's atmospheric pressure. Eventually, temperatures fell below the boiling point of water. Under those conditions, then something extraordinary happened. Rain began, not a thunderstorm lasting an afternoon, not a week of heavy weather. Rain that may have continued for thousands of years. Imagine billions upon billions of tons of water falling continuously onto hot volcanic rock. The sound would have been beyond imagination. Every drop struck surfaces still glowing with heat. Water instantly flashed back into steam. Clouds thickened. Rain continued. Little by little, the balance shifted. The surface cooled enough for liquid water to remain. Small pools became lakes. Lakes connected into seas. Seas merged into the first global ocean. For the first time in Earth's history, blue water covered much of the planet. Yet these oceans looked nothing like modern seas. They contained dissolved minerals in enormous concentrations. Volcanic gases constantly bubbled upward from below. The water was warmer. The chemistry was unfamiliar. The coastlines barely existed because stable continents had not yet formed. Nevertheless, these oceans represented one of the greatest turning points in planetary history. Without liquid water, life as we know it could never have emerged. While Earth's surface transformed, the moon continued another remarkable journey. It was slowly moving away. This surprises many people. Most assume the moon has always remained at roughly the same distance. In reality, it is still drifting away today. Using mirrors left on the lunar surface by Apollo astronauts, scientists bounce laser beams off the moon and measure the return time with extraordinary precision. These measurements reveal that the moon currently moves away from Earth by approximately 3.8 centimeters every year. That may sound insignificant, but over billions of years, it adds up to hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Why is the moon leaving? The answer lies in tides. The moon's gravity pulls on Earth. The oceans respond by forming tidal bulges. However, Earth rotates faster than the moon orbits. Because of this difference, the tidal bulges are carried slightly ahead of the moon's position. Gravity between the bulges and the moon transfers energy. That energy gradually pushes the moon outward, while simultaneously slowing Earth's rotation. This process has continued for over 4 billion years. The result is remarkable. Early in Earth's history, a day may have lasted only 5 or 6 hours. Hundreds of millions of years later, days became 10 hours long, then 16, then 20. Today they last approximately 24 hours. Long after humanity disappears, they will continue growing longer. The moon has literally been acting as a brake on Earth's rotation for billions of years. Every sunrise today lasts slightly longer because of that distant companion. This relationship influences much more than the length of a day. It also affects Earth's axis. Imagine spinning a toy top. As long as it spins smoothly, its axis remains fairly stable. When it slows or experiences outside forces, it begins wobbling. Planets behave in similar ways. Earth is tilted about 23.5 degrees relative to its orbit around the sun. That tilt creates the season. Without it, much of Earth's climate would be completely different. The moon helps stabilize that tilt. Computer simulations suggest that without a large moon, Earth's axis might wander dramatically over millions of years. Instead of changing by only a few degrees, it could swing between extreme angles. Some models suggest tilts approaching 60 degrees or even more. Such changes would radically transform global climates. Regions near the poles could become tropical. Equatorial regions might experience freezing conditions. Ice ages and warm periods could become far more severe. Although scientists continue studying exactly how stable Earth would be without the moon, there is broad agreement that the moon significantly reduces the long-term variations in Earth's axial tilt. In other words, the moon has helped create a more stable environment over geological time. Stable climates matter. Life evolves over immense timescales. Rapid, unpredictable planetary changes make survival much more difficult. The moon did not create life, but it likely helped provide conditions in which complex life could flourish. The tides themselves became another powerful force. Today, we think of tides as gentle daily changes in sea level. Billions of years ago, they were far more dramatic. Because the moon orbited much closer, tidal forces were vastly stronger. Water surged across coastlines with tremendous energy. Shallow pools repeatedly filled and dried. Sediments mixed, minerals concentrated. Chemical reaction occurred under constantly changing conditions. Some scientists have proposed that these tidal environments may have contributed to the complex chemistry that eventually led to the earliest living systems. This remains an active area of research, and no single explanation has been confirmed. Life may have begun near hydrothermal vents deep beneath the oceans. It may have emerged in volcanic pools. It may have required several different environments working together. Whatever the exact answer, the moon almost certainly influenced Earth's oceans from the very beginning. Its gravitational pull never stopped shaping the planet. As millions of years passed, another transformation unfolded beneath the surface. Earth's interior separated into distinct layers. Heavy elements, particularly iron and nickel, sank toward the center. This process is known as planetary differentiation. The result was the formation of Earth's metallic core. Above it lay the mantle, composed mostly of hot silicate rock. Above the mantle formed the crust. This layered structure became essential to Earth's future. The liquid outer core began generating an immense magnetic field through the movement of electrically conductive molten iron. That invisible shield surrounds our planet today. It deflects much of the charged radiation streaming from the sun. Without it, Earth's atmosphere would have been far more vulnerable to erosion by the solar wind. Mars offers an important comparison. Evidence suggests Mars once possessed liquid water and a thicker atmosphere, but after its global magnetic field weakened billions of years ago, much of that atmosphere gradually escaped into space. Earth's magnetic field helped prevent a similar fate. Combined with gravity, volcanic activity, plate tectonics, liquid water, and the stabilizing influence of the moon, it became one more ingredient in the extraordinary chain of events that transformed a molten world into a living planet. Yet at this point in history, Earth was still lifeless. The oceans existed. The crust had begun to stabilize. The moon illuminated the sky. The magnetic field protected the atmosphere. But the greatest mystery of all still remained unanswered. How did chemistry become biology? How did a planet of rock, water, and minerals eventually produce the first living cell? That story would take hundreds of millions of years to unfold, and it would become one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of the universe. The Earth was no longer a glowing sphere of molten rock. For the first time in its history, it had oceans, a solid crust, an atmosphere, and a constant companion in the moon. Yet by every definition we understand today, it was still completely lifeless. No plants, no animals, no insects, no fish, not even a single cell. If you could stand on the shoreline of one of Earth's first ocean, you would hear only the sound of waves crashing against black volcanic rock. There would be no birds flying overhead, no wind moving through trees, no scent of flowers. The world would seem strangely silent. And yet, beneath that silence, chemistry was becoming increasingly complex. The ingredients for life were slowly gathering. The young oceans contained dissolved minerals released by countless volcanic eruptions. Iron, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, sulfur, carbon compounds, nitrogen, hydrogen. Every wave carried countless molecules that would one day become part of living organisms. Above, lightning flashed through a thick atmosphere. Below, volcanic vents released hot water rich in chemicals from deep within Earth's mantle. The planet had become a giant laboratory. Scientists still debate exactly where life first appeared. One possibility points toward shallow pools near volcanic coastlines. Another suggests deep beneath the ocean at hydrothermal vents. These vents are among the most extraordinary places on Earth, even today. At the bottom of the ocean, seawater seeps into cracks in the crust. There it encounters hot rock heated by magma. The water becomes superheated, dissolves minerals from the surrounding rock, and eventually erupts back into the ocean through towering chimneys. Some hydrothermal vents release water hotter than 350 degrees Celsius. Because of the immense pressure at the ocean floor, the water does not immediately boil. Instead, it carries dissolved metals and chemicals into the surrounding sea. Modern hydrothermal vents are filled with life. Giant tube worms, crabs, shrimp, bacteria, entire ecosystems thrive there without relying on sunlight. Instead, microorganisms obtain energy from chemical reactions, a process known as chemosynthesis. This discovery changed the way scientists think about the origin of life. If organisms today can survive entirely without sunlight, perhaps the first life also emerged in such environments. Hydrothermal vents provide warmth. They provide minerals. They create natural chemical gradients capable of supplying energy. Whether life truly began there remains uncertain, but these environments remain among the strongest candidates. Other researchers focus on shallow tidal pools. As water repeatedly evaporated and returned with the tides, molecules became concentrated. Simple compounds collided again and again. Some reactions produced amino acid, the building blocks of proteins. Others formed nucleotides, the components of RNA and DNA. Laboratory experiments have shown that many organic molecules can form naturally under conditions resembling the early Earth. However, creating molecules is only the beginning. Life requires organization. It requires information. It requires the ability to reproduce. Exactly how that transition occurred remains one of science's greatest unanswered questions. At some point, somewhere on the young Earth, chemistry crossed an invisible boundary. The first living system appeared. It was almost certainly microscopic, far smaller than anything visible to the human eye. There were no eyes to see it, no brains to understand it. Yet that tiny organism represented the ancestor of every tree, every whale, every dinosaur, every human being, and every other living creature that would ever exist. All known life on Earth shares fundamental characteristics. Every organism uses the same genetic code. Every organism relies on similar molecules to store information. Every organism traces back through billions of years of evolution toward a common ancestor. Scientists call Luca the last universal common ancestor. Luca was not the first living thing. It was simply the oldest ancestor shared by all life alive today. Earlier forms almost certainly existed before it. Most disappeared without leaving descendants. The earliest evidence for life is astonishingly ancient. Chemical signatures preserved in rocks suggest life may have existed more than 3.8 billion years ago. Some fossil evidence dates to around 3.5 billion years ago. That means life appeared surprisingly soon, after Earth's surface became stable enough to support liquid water. Compared with the age of the planet, life emerged relatively quickly, for billions of years afterward. However, Earth remained a microbial world. There were no forests, no dinosaurs, no mammals, only microscopic organisms living in oceans, sediments, and volcanic environments. To many people, that sounds uneventful. In reality, these tiny organisms transformed the entire planet. Among the most important were cyanobacteria. Unlike earlier microbes, many cyanobacteria evolved the ability to perform photosynthesis. Using sunlight, they combined water and carbon dioxide to produce sugars. As a byproduct, they released oxygen. Today, oxygen seems ordinary. We breathe it every moment. But on the early Earth, oxygen was almost absent. Indeed, for many ancient organisms, oxygen was poisonous. At first, the oxygen produced by cyanobacteria reacted immediately with dissolved iron in the oceans. Rust slowly formed beneath the sea. Over millions of years, these reactions created vast deposits known as banded iron formations. Many of the iron ores mined today originated during this period. Eventually, the oceans could absorb no more oxygen. The gas began accumulating in the atmosphere. This event is known as the Great Oxygenation Event. It occurred roughly 2.4 billion years ago. The consequences were enormous. Many microorganisms adapted, many did not. Entire groups of ancient life disappeared as oxygen levels rose. What seems beneficial to us today was, for countless early organisms, an environmental catastrophe. Yet oxygen also opened entirely new possibilities. Cells capable of using oxygen could extract far more energy from food than organisms relying solely on older chemical pathways. This increase in available energy would later support larger and more complex life forms. Earth itself began changing once again. Oxygen reacted with methane, reducing one of the atmosphere's strongest greenhouse gases. Some researchers believe this contributed to major episodes of global cooling. The sky itself changed color. Without oxygen, the atmosphere would have appeared very different. As oxygen accumulated, an ozone layer gradually formed high above the planet. This thin shield absorbed much of the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. Before the ozone layer existed, intense UV light bombarded Earth's surface. After it formed, shallow waters and eventually land became safer places for life to expand. One transformation led naturally to another. Throughout all these immense spans of time, the moon continued its slow retreat, centimeter by centimeter, year after year, million after million. Its influence never disappeared. The tides continued mixing nutrients along coastline. Earth's rotation continued slowing. The planet's axis remained comparatively stable. The partnership forged in unimaginable violence billions of years earlier quietly shaped every era that followed. Then another revolution occurred. Around 2 billion years ago, some cells began living inside other cells. Instead of being digested, these internal companions formed cooperative relationships. Over time, they evolved into structures we now call mitochondria. Plant cells later acquired chloroplasts in a similar way. This process, known as endosymbiosis, gave rise to complex cells called eukaryotes. Unlike simple bacteria, eukaryotic cells contained internal compartments and much larger genomes. Without this innovation, plants, animals, fungi, and humans could never have evolved. Complex life did not appear overnight. For hundreds of millions of years, even these advanced cells remained microscopic, but evolution was slowly building the foundation for something entirely new. Multicellular organisms, the ability for cells to specialize. Some became muscles, some became skin, some became nerves, others carried nutrients or sensed the environment. Working together, they achieved things impossible for individual cells. The first simple multicellular organisms emerged long before dinosaurs, long before fish, and long before the first forests covered the continents. Earth had traveled an extraordinary path, from molten rock, to oceans, to microscopic chemistry, to living cells, to oxygen-rich skies, to increasingly complex organisms. Every stage depended on the one before it. Every transformation required immense spans of time measured not in years or centuries, but in hundreds of millions of years. If Earth's history were compressed into a single calendar year, life would appear surprisingly early. Yet humans would not arrive until the final minutes of December 31. Everything we call civilization would occupy only the last fraction of the final second. The moon, however, would have been present for nearly the entire calendar, watching, orbiting, slowly drifting farther away, while silently influencing the destiny of the planet below. The story of Earth and the moon is not simply the story of two celestial bodies. It is the story of how chaos gradually became order, how violence eventually created stability, and how a catastrophic collision billions of years ago set the stage for every living creature that would one day look up at the night sky and wonder where that bright companion came from. For most of Earth's history, there were no humans to witness the moon. No one watched it rise over the horizon. No one gave it a name. No one wondered how it had formed. For billions of years, the moon simply continued its silent journey around Earth, while life below slowly became more diverse. The first simple multicellular organisms eventually gave way to increasingly complex forms of life. Around 541 million years ago, something extraordinary happened. In a relatively short period of geological time, life diversified at an astonishing rate. Scientists call this event the Cambrian explosion. Within only a few tens of millions of years, most of the major animal body plans that exist today appeared in the fossil record. Creatures with shells, creatures with eyes, predators, burrowers, swimming animals. The oceans, once inhabited almost entirely by microscopic organisms, suddenly became filled with visible life. Although scientists continue debating the precise causes of the Cambrian explosion, several factors likely worked together. Higher oxygen levels allowed organisms to grow larger. Genetic innovations provided new possibilities for development. Changing environments created new ecological opportunities. Once again, Earth's long history demonstrates that no single event explains everything. Instead, countless processes overlap across immense stretches of time. The moon continued playing its quiet role. Its tides constantly mixed coastal waters. Nutrients circulated between shallow and deeper regions of the oceans. Some marine environments experienced regular flooding and exposure as tides rose and fell. These rhythms became part of Earth's biological clock. Many modern organisms still synchronize feeding, reproduction, and migration with the lunar cycle. Sea turtles time their nesting. Corals release eggs and sperm during particular lunar phases. Grunion fish come ashore on specific high tide. Even today, billions of years after the moon formed, its gravity continues influencing life. Life eventually left the oceans. Around 470 million years ago, the first plants began colonizing land. The continents were barren landscapes of rock before that time. No forests softened the wind. No grass covered the plains. No flowers added color. Early plants were small and simple, yet they began changing the atmosphere and the surface itself. Roots broke apart rock. Organic matter accumulated. The first true soils gradually formed. Soon afterward came fungi, then arthropods. Millipede-like animals crawled across damp ground. Primitive insects appeared. Eventually, vertebrates followed. Fish evolved strong fins, capable of supporting weight in shallow water. Those fins gradually transformed into limbs. The first tetrapods climbed onto land. The world that had once consisted only of molten rock now supported forests filled with giant insects and early amphibians. Earth never stopped changing. Around 252 million years ago, the greatest mass extinction in the planet's history occurred. Scientists refer to it as the Permian-Triassic extinction event. Roughly 90% of marine species disappeared. Approximately 70% of land vertebrate species vanished. The exact sequence of events remains under investigation, but enormous volcanic eruptions in what is now Siberia released vast amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases. Global temperatures rose dramatically. Oceans lost oxygen. Acidification increased. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Yet life recovered. Recovery required millions of years, but evolution continued. Eventually, dinosaurs appeared. For more than 160 million years, they dominated Earth land ecosystems. During all that time, the moon continued receding. By then, it was already much farther away than during Earth's earliest history. Days had become longer. The tides had become less extreme. Still, every orbit transferred a tiny amount of Earth's rotational energy into the moon's motion. The process never stopped. Then, approximately 66 million years ago, another catastrophic event reshaped life. A large asteroid struck near what is now Mexico. The impact formed the Chicxulub crater, roughly 180 kilometers in diameter. The collision released energy beyond anything humanity has ever experienced. Shock waves spread around the globe. Wildfires ignited across continents. Dust and aerosols blocked sunlight. Food chains collapsed. The non-avian dinosaurs disappeared. But once again, extinction created opportunity. Small mammals survived. Over millions of years, they diversified into countless forms. Primates eventually evolved. Among them appeared a lineage capable of extraordinary intelligence. Humans, our species emerged only about 300,000 years ago. Compared to Earth's 4.54 billion year history, humanity arrived almost yesterday. If the entire history of Earth lasted 24 hours, modern humans would appear during the final few seconds before midnight. Agriculture would occupy only the last fraction of a second. Recorded history would be nearly impossible to see. Yet in that brief moment, humans accomplished something unprecedented. They began asking questions about the universe itself. Long before telescopes existed, ancient civilizations carefully observed the moon. They noticed its phases, its predictable motion, its influence on tides. Many cultures used lunar cycles to create calendars. Some associated the moon with gods or myths. Others tracked eclipses with surprising accuracy. Although these explanations differ, they all recognized one fact: the moon mattered. Centuries later, scientific inquiry replaced mythology with observation. Galileo pointed one of the first telescopes toward the moon in 1609. Instead of a perfectly smooth heavenly sphere, he discovered mountains, valleys, and craters. The moon was a real world. Isaac Newton later explained that the same force causing an apple to fall also kept the moon in orbit. Gravity connected Earth and the heavens through a single universal law. The 20th century brought another revolution. For the first time, humans left Earth. Apollo astronauts landed on the lunar surface between 1969 and 1972. They collected rocks, installed scientific instruments, placed mirrors that scientists still use today for laser ranging experiments. Those missions transformed our understanding of lunar history. By comparing lunar rocks with Earth's geology, researchers found powerful evidence supporting the giant impact hypothesis. The moon was not simply Earth's companion. It was born from Earth itself. Modern computer simulations continue refining that picture. Supercomputers model the collision in extraordinary detail. Different impact angles, different speeds, different compositions. Although details continue evolving, the central conclusion remains remarkably consistent. A giant collision early in Earth's history produced the moon. One violent event permanently altered both worlds. Today the moon appears calm, silent, motionless, but every crater tells a story of ancient impacts. Every rock records billions of years of planetary history. Unlike Earth, the moon has almost no atmosphere, no flowing water, very little geological activity. As a result, its ancient surface remains preserved. It acts as a time capsule from the earliest solar system. Earth cannot preserve such ancient evidence because plate tectonics, erosion, wind, rain, and volcanic activity constantly recycle the surface. The moon remembers what Earth has forgotten. Even now, scientists continue discovering new details. Lunar samples reveal clues about the chemistry of the early solar system. Spacecraft map hidden lava plains. Orbiters detect water ice preserved inside permanently shadowed craters near the poles. Future missions may return additional samples that answer questions scientists have debated for decades. The story is still unfolding, and the moon itself is still changing. Every year it moves about 3.8 centimeters farther away. Every century, Earth's rotation slows slightly. Hundreds of millions of years from now, total solar eclipses will disappear because the moon will appear too small to completely cover the sun. One of nature's most beautiful spectacles is temporary. It exists only because we happen to live during this particular chapter of Earth's history. When you look up tonight, it is easy to think of the moon as timeless, but it has a beginning, it has a history, it has changed continuously for more than 4 billion years. Without the moon, Earth's days would be much shorter. The tides would be dramatically different. The long-term stability of Earth's axial tilt would likely be reduced. The history of our planet would not have been exactly the same. Whether intelligent life would still have evolved is a question science cannot yet answer. What we do know is this: the moon is not merely a beautiful object in the night sky. It is part of Earth's story. It was created in unimaginable violence. It helped shape the oceans. It slowed the spinning of our planet. It influenced climates, coastlines, and perhaps even some of the environments in which early life evolved. Every human who has ever lived has inherited a world profoundly shaped by an event that occurred more than 4.5 billion years ago. The next time the moon rises above the horizon, remember that you are not simply looking at another world. You are looking at the surviving witness to Earth's earliest history, a silent companion born from fire, orbiting a planet that transformed from molten rock into the only known world in the universe that supports life.